Imagine waking up tomorrow morning in a world stripped of every digital convenience you currently take for granted. There is no smartphone vibrating on your nightstand, no cloud-based dashboard waiting to show you your daily revenue, and certainly no instant notification when a client finally pays that overdue bill. You are transported back to the year 1955, a time of chrome-plated cars and post-war optimism, where the heartbeat of commerce wasn't measured in gigabytes or processing power, but in the frantic scratching of fountain pens against heavy, cream-colored ledger paper. Could you actually run a company in that environment? Could you survive the sheer, overwhelming weight of the physical bureaucracy that kept the gears of the mid-century economy turning? 70 years ago, millions of ambitious entrepreneurs had absolutely no choice but to master this analog grind. And the tragic reality is that countless brilliant businesses folded, not because they lacked customers or quality products, but because the mountain of paperwork eventually buried them alive. Today, we are going to explore the evolution of the small business owner, tracing the path from the dusty, ink-stained offices of the 50s to the streamlined, hyper-efficient digital landscape we inhabit right now, and discover why the modern entrepreneur possesses a superpower that their predecessors could only dream of. Step inside a typical small business office in 1958. The air is thick with the scent of mimeograph ink and stale cigarette smoke. There is no software to manage your inventory. Instead, there is a towering mahogany filing cabinet that acts as the graveyard of your professional life. If you wanted to send an invoice, you didn't click a button. You sat down at a heavy, clacking typewriter, carefully aligned the carbon paper, and prayed you didn't make a single typo, because a mistake meant starting the entire document from scratch. You relied on mechanical calculators that groaned and whirred with every addition, and if you were lucky, you had a dedicated bookkeeper whose entire existence was defined by balancing columns of handwritten figures. Every customer was a physical index card tucked into a wooden box, organized alphabetically, and if that box was misplaced or damaged by a spilled cup of coffee, your entire client history effectively vanished into thin air. Appointment books were battered, dog-eared journals where a pencil smudge could mean the difference between a successful meeting and a catastrophic scheduling conflict. When an employee finished their shift, they didn't check in on an app. They walked over to a heavy iron machine and punched a physical card, leaving a trail of paper that had to be manually tallied at the end of every week. The sheer amount of physical labor required just to keep the lights on was astronomical, and the time spent on these administrative tasks was time stolen away from actually serving customers or growing the business. Consider the hidden, silent killers of the mid-century business model. How many successful ventures disappeared because they simply couldn't keep up with the paper flow? Imagine being a contractor in 1962, waiting for a check that was mailed 3 weeks ago. You have no way to track its progress, no automated reminder system to nudge the client, and no real-time visibility into your cash flow. You are essentially flying blind, hoping that your bank balance stays in the black while you wait for the mailman to arrive. If a client forgot to pay, you had to physically go through your ledger, identify the delinquency, and then find the time to type out a formal letter, hoping it wouldn't get lost in the shuffle of a busy week. Human error was the silent tax on every business. A single miscalculation in a ledger could throw off an entire year's tax reporting, leading to audits and stress that could ruin a family business overnight. There was no such thing as a business dashboard that gave you a bird's-eye view of your profit margins or your most loyal customers. You were drowning in data that you couldn't actually use, trapped in a cycle of reactive management where you were constantly fighting fires instead of building a future. The mental toll was immense, as business owners were forced to be accountants, secretaries, and strategists all at once, using nothing but their own memory and a pile of paper receipts to navigate the treacherous waters of the economy. The transition from this analog era to our modern age didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, deliberate march of innovation that began with the humble pocket calculator and accelerated through the personal computer revolution of the 80s and 90s. We moved from typewriters to word processors, from physical ledgers to spreadsheet software, and eventually to the cloud, where the limitations of physical space and local storage were finally shattered. Every one of these advancements was a direct response to the friction that paralyzed the businesses of the past. When computers arrived, the task of calculation became instantaneous, eliminating the human errors that had plagued bookkeeping for centuries. When the internet arrived, the need for physical mail was replaced by instant communication, allowing for a speed of commerce that would have seemed like science fiction to a business owner in the 50s. Today, we stand at the pinnacle of this evolution, where complex management systems have been distilled into intuitive, powerful platforms that act as a central nervous system for your enterprise. If a business owner from 1955 were to walk into a modern office and see someone managing their entire company from a smartphone, they would undoubtedly think it was magic. They would be baffled by the fact that you can generate a professional invoice, send it to a client, track the payment, and record the income in your books in less than 60 seconds. This is where tools like invoice1pro.net represent the culmination of decades of struggle and innovation. Think about the problems we've just discussed: the lost paperwork, the forgotten payments, the manual payroll, and the lack of financial reports. Invoice1pro.net doesn't just digitize these tasks, it integrates them into a seamless ecosystem that replaces the need for a dozen separate tools and a small army of staff. When you use a platform that handles professional estimates, CRM, financial tracking, and automated reminders, you are essentially reclaiming the time that the business owners of the 50s lost to the drudgery of the filing cabinet. Instead of spending your evenings manually typing up invoices or trying to reconcile a messy ledger, you have an AI-assisted partner that organizes your business notes, manages your customer history, and provides real-time reports at the touch of a button. It is the evolution of business management from a reactive manual burden into a proactive strategic advantage. The beauty of modern software lies in its ability to give the business owner their life back. By automating the mundane, the appointment scheduling, the time clock, the document organization, you are free to focus on the creative and human elements of your business that no machine can ever replace. You no longer have to worry about whether a client received your invoice because the system handles the reminders for you. You no longer have to panic about your financial standing because the data is visualized in clear, actionable charts that tell you exactly where you stand at any given moment. This is the difference between surviving and thriving. While the entrepreneur of the 50s was a slave to their own administrative process, the modern entrepreneur is the architect of their own efficiency. You have access to the same level of organization that global corporations once spent millions of dollars to achieve, all from the palm of your hand, wherever you are in the world. History teaches us a very harsh but important lesson. Businesses don't always fail because they lack customers or talent. Many of the most promising ventures in history collapsed simply because they lacked organization, accurate information, and efficient systems to handle the complexity of growth. 70 years ago, business owners worked incredibly hard, often sacrificing their health and their time with their families, just to keep up with the relentless tide of paperwork and manual accounting. They were brave pioneers in an era where every transaction was a battle against entropy. Today, success belongs to those who recognize that technology is not just a luxury, but a fundamental pillar of modern business survival. We have the privilege of standing on the shoulders of those who came before us, utilizing the sophisticated tools that have finally solved the problems that once felt insurmountable. The question is no longer about whether you have the energy to manage your business, but whether you have the wisdom to use the tools that make that management effortless. If you were suddenly transported back to 1955 and forced to run your company exactly as they did, with nothing but a typewriter, a ledger, and a box of index cards, do you think your business could survive? It is a sobering thought that highlights just how far we have come, and perhaps a reminder to never take for granted the incredible power you hold in your hands today. Take a moment to reflect on your own systems. Look at how you manage your daily operations, and ask yourself if you are truly leveraging the modern advantage, or if you are still working like it is 1955. The tools of the future are here, and they are waiting to help you build something that lasts.